Today with us, we have Alieesha. Alieesha is the HR Director of Asia at Axens. Welcome, Alieesha.
I'm very happy to be here.
Super. So, can you take us through a bit of your career journey, some highlights, pivotal moments?
Okay, so I think my career spans over about 2.5 decades. Feel very old when I say that out loud. I started out in small roles, and I think my first real HR job was in talent acquisition in ENY. Um, but I wasn't there for very long because I got a lucky break. There was a startup in the digital marketing industry, and that point of time in 2003, we did not even know what digital marketing was. And there was this US based startup that was having its offices in Bangalore, and they were looking for an HR and admin manager. And after going through several rounds of discussions with both the founders, I was very lucky to get a break with them. Uh, and my career just took off after that because imagine when you join an organization as the 35th employee where they don't have anything, not even um, employment contracts for their um, existing 34 employees before you, and you get to start everything from scratch at the young age of 24. You put into place the policies, the processes, you work on your own for some, you work with large organizations like Mercer and Gallup for some, and you put into place processes which are the best in the industry. You scale the organization from 35 where you joined to 1,000 plus over a period of 6 years. You learn a lot through this entire experience, and I was very, very fortunate to go through that and do all of that. So after doing that, I felt like I wanted to take a break, do something on my own. I had a dream of starting like a finishing school kind of thing, and this was in 2008. So I took a break. I said my USP was going to be end to end solutions where I have college students join the institute, and I help them attain skills that are required in the corporate world. And then I also help place them in the corporate world. But 2008, at the end of the year, we all know the recession hit, and my whole plan of having this business kind of had to be put on hold. Um, I did freelancing for about a year after that, and then I took up another role, again with a US based multinational. It was part of the Time Warner Brothers group. It was called Time Inc., and they were setting up their offices in Bangalore. And again, I joined when the team was really young. I was one of the first 50 people to join. And over a period of 20 months that I was with them, we grew from 50 to 300 plus. It was very quick. It was very interesting. Again, did very similar work of setting up stuff from scratch and, building team scalability. But the other thing that I did differently in timing was I traveled to the US. I met with all the key stakeholders in the time and life building. I talked to them about India, about the talent pool that we have available in India, and I convinced them to send some of their processes to India. And that's how we were able to build the team here and support New York from India. And it was a wonderful experience for me because it also helped me look at their pain points and look at how business is done. It helped me look at the business part of it, which I had not done earlier in Theorem. And this was a great learning opportunity as well. But I needed to move to Mumbai from Bangalore, and then I quit timing and moved here. In Mumbai, I had a complete career shift from IT, ITES, KPO, publishing. I moved to oil and gas. That was the only role that I found for myself here, and I joined Dover Corporation. Again, very lucky to get a role with them because it's a great organization to work with. Um, I started out as a consultant. I did 3 days a week with them, and they liked the work that I gave them over a period of a year and a half, and they offered me a full time role. It was amazing because I learned a lot in terms of mergers, acquisitions. I managed a much larger territory, moved out of just managing a span of control from India to Southeast Asia and rest of Asia, where I worked on merger acquisition integrations for five different companies that Dover had acquired in the fluids division. And I worked with them in Malaysia, China, and all the other places for HR integration. So it really helped me look at things very differently from just setting up processes and scaling operations. I looked at the other side of HR where I had to redesign organizations. I had to unfortunately make some roles redundant. We had to do a lot of changes. There was a lot of change management involved. So it gave me a lot of maturity as an HR professional. It gave me opportunities that I had not experienced before, gave me international exposure. And it was a great role. I was with them for more than 6 years. And then I moved out and I joined my current organization, Axens. Axens has also been great, again in the oil and gas industry. But I've been working with American companies all my life, and Axens was the first European company I joined. It was great because I was looking for a little bit of work life balance when I was moving out of Dover, and Axens gave me that. Accents gave me the platform I needed to also put into practice a lot of things I learned in Dover, and gave me the time that I needed to look at my own life from a personal perspective, which I did. And Accents, again, I joined as head of HR for India. Then they gave me a much larger role after about 3 years with the company. I started to manage four more countries outside of India in the Asia region. And I have been helping all of our entities scale and also helping with talent upgradation all across Asia in the last few years. So that's how it has been for me all these years.
Since 2003, you've seen how the talent landscape has evolved. I think it's over 21 years as we speak today. How has the talent landscape evolved? Do you have any observations there?
It has changed dramatically, to say the least. Whether you're trying to hire straight out of college or whether you're trying to hire laterally, the workforce has today matured. They know what they want, they're extremely vocal about it. And the one thing that has changed drastically over the last 2 decades is the expectation of the workforce has become the forefront of how organizations today strategize and ensure that they're able to do business well, because otherwise you're not able to retain people, you lose your assets to your competitors. So you have to constantly be on your toes to see how you can do things differently, and what are the different strategies that you can put into place to differentiate from your competitors and ensure that you are able to attract and retain your talent both. And it has become very employee centric, right? In the 2000s it was an employer's market. Today there is no doubt about it being an employee's market. Today the demand for talent is huge, right? We call it the war for talent, really. If you're a great talented person with good pedigree and good experience, the world is your oyster. You get the best pick of roles, you get to dictate terms to organizations. And back then, 20 years ago, even if you had great pedigree and you were good, you still had to go by what the company could offer you. You didn't really you didn't even know that it was okay to make a demand. So now people have become more aware of the fact that they are in demand and they're not shy about asking for what they want. People have become vocal, they've become more focused on their own development and growth. It's not just about what I can do for the company, but what the company can do for me. So the whole mindset of people has changed. And I've seen that happen so dramatically over the past 2 decades.
What about alignment of purpose? Do you see that is something that the young talent is looking at?
Very, very. So, in the early days, we didn't look at all that. At least I didn't look at all that. I went into organizations thinking that, okay, this is where I will go. I will serve for a few years. I will learn and I will grow. But today, when I interview youngsters, the one thing they tell me is, I want to be a part of Accents because Accents is doing something different. They are talking about environment sustainability. They're talking about how to make the planet a better place for the future generations. So they're always looking for a larger purpose. They're looking for how the organization's purpose can be aligned with their own purpose, or how their purpose is aligned with the organization's purpose, also the values, right? When I had started out, we didn't think like that. And I think the younger generation is so way ahead in their thinking. In the global exposure that they've had because of technology has made them so much more mature at much younger age. And I think that's brilliant. I think this kind of a change is just something that we needed. And I think this kind of a change is what has also brought about the eye opener for diversity and things like that in workplace. So I think this was so much more needed, and I'm so happy that it has happened.
When a founder starts a business, they know what they're doing in terms of the product. They understand their product, they understand the service well, but they don't necessarily understand the people well, right? So, what are the best practices for them?
There is no one size fits all. Different industries have different challenges. Different people or people in different leadership positions will have different challenges based on the industry, based on the geography that they are in, and so on and so forth. But I think a good way to be able to deal with these challenges is, one, be aware, know the market, know what the expectations in the market are, um, know what you can do, know what you can't do, or what you can give or what you can't give, know your strengths, know your gaps, and based on that, craft a strategy of whether it is attraction, retention, whether it is scaling of a company. You need to be very aware of who you are, where you want to be, and also what the people out there are expecting from you, and then look at all these different dimensions and do it. What do you have outside? You have a lot of coaches that help today. You have consulting firms that you can work with. It's a lot easier today than it was 25 years ago, no doubt about it, because we have the resources out there in the market. But I think awareness is the step one for everything and anything.
Absolutely. Don't assume that you know how to manage talent. I think that
No,
is.
no, no, no. That is something that I coach my leadership every day with. I tell them that there are no two people who are the same. So you're not going to be able to deal with two people in the same way. You have to understand a person's motivation before you try to manage them. For somebody, growth may be a big motivator. For somebody else, flexibility may be a big motivator, right? So, how do you deal with these two people are very, very different.
You seem to be in love with HR. You love your job
Dude,
because
if you ask my husband that, he will say, no, she is not. Lighter note, but more than HR, I think very early on in my life, Santosh, I had a dream. The dream was to be able to help people to reach their full potential. That was why I even quit my job way back in 2008, and had this dream of starting a finishing school, because I believe that everybody should be given the tools to be the best that they can be, right? And HR, in a way, has been able to help me achieve that dream in a small way, whether it is when you hire someone young and help them learn and grow and scale new heights in their career, or you're able to sit with somebody and listen to them and look at the little problems they have and sometimes just hear them out. So that is why I think I've stuck with HR for all these years, because in a way it aligns with my purpose of life. being able to nudge people towards being the best version of themselves.
Right. Now, when you look at your career and then you look back at your academics and things that you would have learned before you joined your corporate life, what do you think would be the best path for somebody to follow before they join HR from an academic point of view?
I think being aware of what really motivates you in HR, right? Do you want to be a subject matter expert? Do you want to be somebody who works with an array of functions and does different things? What is it that you want? Um, if you want to be a subject matter expert, then you start to make career choices very early on, where right from the time of campus placement, go for talent acquisition or compensation and benefits kind of roles, which will allow you to be subject matter expert. But if you feel like that is something that would not sustain your interest levels over a long period of time, you should know your own personality really. Then you look at more generalist roles, you look at more other kind of roles that will help you do different things and will ensure that you don't get bored with what you're doing, because at the end of the day you are really doing the same thing day in and day out, right? So unless you are aware of who you are as a person, you shouldn't take career decisions that will kind of bore you out or burn you out and things like that. I think that is very important.
Don't just chase money and that job because you
Mhm. I
might.
was very clear. See, I was with E&Y in TA, but I was very clear this is not something I wanted to do long term, right? Who doesn't want to be with E&Y? Tell me. They're top four. They're a great name to be with. And I left them to join a no name company which had just 35 people at the same salary without any increase, right? Because I
Right.
felt that I would have more opportunities to learn, to grow, do different things. And I knew that is something that would sustain my interest for a longer time.
Right. Such calls are very important. I think mid-career pivots is also very important. Early career pivots are very important. Pivot in general is not bad, right? You don't have to
No,
continuously follow the same path that
never.
you that yeah.
Never. But it becomes very difficult because you become labeled. I know of people, very, very dear friends of mine, who've been labeled as comp and ben experts, who've been labeled as L&D experts, who've been labeled as talent acquisition experts. And today, when they want to get into larger roles or do generalist roles or be a business partner, or it's difficult as hell for them to move. They're not getting the opportunities they want. So we have to be sure of what we want. They say that being in HR is industry agnostic. Being in HR, you can jump from one industry to another. You can do this. It's not that simple. It really is not. Today, I am just um, termed as somebody who would be great to be in the oil and gas industry because I've been in the oil and gas industry for the last 12 years. So it's really not that simple. I don't want to be discouraging, but I'm just being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not simple, and it's not simple for women who want to restart their career after having taken a career break. What are your thoughts on that in terms of how organizations should look at that, how people themselves should prepare their comeback?
How people can prepare their comeback? Now that's a great question. I think um, understanding how the landscape has changed. When you're a woman wanting to come back after a career break, I have never had to go through that, so I cannot speak from personal experience. But just looking at some of the people I've known, I would say trying to understand how the landscape has changed, looking at how you can adapt to the change and evolve, whether it's new skills, whether it is your own perceptions or your expectations, how you need to adapt. That is important. Also, try and have a support system at the back, because it's not going to be easy in early days. Uh, when you get into a new job, right, you have to work a little harder. You have to put in that extra effort that is required to establish yourself. And all of that requires a lot of commitment, a lot of effort. It requires time, and you would have a family back home, right? So you need to know that you have that support system as well, because there might be times when you have to go home late, there might be times you have to travel. So be aware of what you can give up, what you can't give up, what you can do, what you can't do. Look at how much the system has changed outside. Can you adapt to that change? Or do you want to look at a full time job? Do you want to look at a gig instead of a job? All those kind of options are available today. We are in a time and place where we are very lucky, where companies are willing to do part time gigs with people and so on and so forth. That was not the case 20 years ago. But we are in a place where even the workplace has evolved, so it's not that difficult if you want to come back into the corporate sector after a long break, as long as you're aware of what is needed and you can make those and you can adapt to those changes and know that you have a supportive back end. And I think as companies, we need to know that this requires significant amount of investment, time, effort, energy, and money, right? When you are talking about diversity, it does not end at hiring a woman who has taken a break or hiring a woman. That is just the beginning. How can you support this person? How can you ensure that she has the right work life balance? How can you ensure that she has the right tools that she needs to integrate herself back in the workforce? And all of this requires investment. All of this requires a lot of commitment from senior management. It requires a lot of effort from every single person in the leadership team, right? And diversity, in my mind, is very clear. It just begins with hiring a woman, it doesn't end there. That is what people need to start thinking about. What are the things they need to put in place to make it more attractive to the person coming back or willing to come back? And what are the kind of processes they can put into place to make sure that the person has the right tools, the right support, the right managers, also, for that matter.
Thank you for kind of being very candid about this, because it's very difficult to call a spade at times, right?
Hmm. You don't have that problem with me, I promise.
So okay, so you did mention you have a creative side and you do a lot of interesting things. What is a new piece of skill that you have recently acquired?
So recently, I got certified in a psychometric assessment called Management Drives. And it is an amazing tool. It is a tool that allows you to assess people and their motivators, which helps you manage them better. It's based on 6 colors, and you have different personality types for each color. It helps you see what they would be good at, they would not be good at. So it actually helps you structure your team in a way where you put the right person in the right place, give the right responsibility to the right person, so that it is not counterproductive. Because in a lot of places, there is a great performer. He he excels as a individual contributor, and a company will promote him to being a manager, right? That is what happens everywhere. And if that person is somebody who is a particular color and likes to analyze and likes to work and he's not somebody who likes to interact with people, after a point in time when he's promoted, it will be very difficult for his team to be motivated, because he doesn't get them and they don't get him, and it's going to be a disaster. So a tool like this, it really helps with assessments for succession planning. It helps with it also helps for hiring, really. You get to see the personality of a person and whether you want to have him or her in the team or not.
It's interesting. So what if I take the same assessment in a gap of 2 days over like three times? Will I get the same result?
Yes.
Done.
So that's the best thing about psychometric assessments, right? They assess your personality from a very deep level. Um, You can take the same test. So I took the same test. This is not the same. So I'm also a disc trainer. um, I took disc in 2012 and I took disc in 2024, and I got the exact same profile, because inherently your personality remains the same, your behaviors remain the same. You may adapt to a situation, you may change your responses based on your external stimuli, but inherently you have the same personality, and your responses would be the same,
Okay.
unless you are thinking and trying to make the tool confused.
To game the system.
It's nothing. It wouldn't
Which
change.
I'm hoping the tool is smart enough now to understand, because same
Yeah,
question,
yeah.
different situations, I think they will probably try to
They
get
do
the
that. Yeah,
right
yeah.
answer,
No,
right?
but I think psychometric tests are amazing. I love working with psychometric tools. We use them a lot for hiring and for succession planning.
You seem to be a continuous learner because you have done a lot of things. Do you remember any major intervention or change that you have led in your organization?
In my previous organization, when we would work on mergers and acquisitions, it was all about change management, right from the leadership team that changes on top, to the design of the or the structure of the organization, to the roles of the people, to the policies within the company. You've got to adapt. The other company that has acquired you has got to adapt, and you guys have got to integrate. So this is what I have done, and I have enjoyed doing.
Right, right. Very relevant given the current startup landscape in our country and so many M&A happening. I
Hmm.
think it's so important to understand the whole people aspect for the benefit of the organization as well.
Hmm.
How do you balance work and your personal life?
In the past, I really wasn't able to balance. Okay. In all of the previous jobs I've had, and that's probably why I never had a personal life before this. But working with accents has really been amazing for me, because I've never had to make an extra effort to have any kind of work life balance. I'm very lucky to be in an organization that recognizes this as a fundamental requirement for your employee to be happy and to be productive and efficient, and in order to feel loyal towards the company. So I've not had to make any effort in accents. We have it. We are not expected to respond on the weekends or during vacations unless it's an absolute emergency and I get a call on my mobile. I'm not expected to jump in for anything of that sort. Having said that, my answer for people at large would be there is a trick to it. The trick is to know when to say no. I didn't know how to say no all my life until recently. It's really, really important to be able to prioritize and say no if something is not a priority and is still being pushed on to you, and saying no, you do it today or tomorrow, and you have to stretch long hours just to finish it. I think it's not fair. I think when you feel that you're just being asked to do something out of turn, and it's going to stretch you to a point where it's hampering your health or your mental well-being, you've got to say no. Just say no and do it. And I've learned to do it without any guilt now. It is not easy. Let me tell you honestly, it is not easy, especially for people from my generation who have never known to say no to authority. But you've got to. And I think the younger generation is smarter about it. They know when to say no. So I'm not worried. I think people have evolved. They've seen this happen to their parents, and now they've evolved and they know how to make about. And flexibility really is one of the most important factors today for retention in organizations. And therefore, organizations are also recognizing this and ensuring that there is work life balance, really.
Lovely. Unfiltered, honest, and straight from the heart. I think this is pretty much how I would sum up today's conversation. I think it's fabulous. What are your concluding thoughts that you want to leave us with?
Um, you know, pre-COVID and post-COVID, the world has been very, very different. Companies, managers, leadership, everybody have to adapt to this change. Pre-COVID, the motivators of people were very different from what it is today post-COVID, right? And motivators change based on the decade they fall in, the generation they are from. But it has changed for every generation. You call it the Gen X, the Y, the Z. Everywhere motivators have changed. It's not the same as what it was pre COVID. Companies need to learn, companies need to unlearn what they knew, need to learn what is now relevant and adapt. Otherwise, they're going to spend a lot of money trying to rehire or find the right talent. The way to do it is adapt, retain your existing talent, and ensure that you're upgrading them, appreciating them enough so that you're not having a churn, you have business continuity and all of that. And I think that for me is something that is very close to my heart. I'm constantly educating my own leadership team on this um, every now and then. And I think people just need to wake up and do this. I think this is the need of the hour. And that is something I would say as my parting words, really.
Superb. Thank you so much, Lisha. It was such a pleasure talking to you. It was amazing, right?
Thank
Really,
you.
really
Thank you.
excellent.
It was a pleasure being here, Santosh.